Chapter 31 Ironhenge Offensive. While by himself, after battle simulations, Yaakov began to contemplate his life choices and thought to himself, is my family honor really set on serving Inari, or is honor found within the action itself? If I am nothing more than a no-jitsune, why then does Inari say that I am redeemable, if I serve her to atone for my crimes? But is this slaying of innocent tanukis really something someone can atone for? For the only thing that justified my slaying of tanukis in the past was the reality that they were once savages. They slaughtered their own children for convenience, and tortured my kind for the mere pleasure of it. Back then I believe I slew tanukis to protect the people I loved. But it is some of the tanukis that died at my blade fight me because they believe they were doing the same thing. The more I consider it, the more I am afraid we are alike. After all, who benefits from fights between people who know nothing about each other? Now I must ask what really matters to me. Serving Inari and becoming the top of the social ladder, or the well-being of those closest to me? Are the tanukis of today even the enemies of the Kitsune clan, or is it Inari herself? And even if I kill her and hang her false tales as a banner, what will I have accomplished in a clan consumed with pleasure and apathy? Is it better to have decadence and pleasure, or is it better to be free? Night Stalkers. While Natalia was getting ready for her sortie, she clipped a tuft of Buck Ringtail's fur to her flight suit, while Buck clenched a tuft of Natalia's fur in his paw hand. Buck then silently said, while Natalia closed the Night Stalker canopy, "Please promise me you'll come back." Natalia then joined the rest of her squadron on the makeshift runway, as Finnegan commented, "Just like old times. Get this done, and we all go home." But Natalia remained silent. Finnegan then asked, "Is everything all right?" Natalia then answered, "Everything is fine. I'm just trying to focus." James Wolfe then said, "I like this Night Stalker. Much better than those old TCIs used to fly." Finnegan then interjected, "Even though every Night Stalker pilot trained on a TCI interceptor." Let's just hope the Night Stalker's reputation holds up against Ironhenge. If we get detected by one of its spotter drones, all hell's gonna break loose. That's why we got backup once we take out the radars and spotter drones. Without those, Ironhenge can't hit jack shit. Then all we have to do is worry about the TCIs and Yako Squadron. After that, the attack planes will strip Ironhenge of its ground-based air defenses, while our bombers raise Ironhenge to the ground. As for us, our task is to destroy Ironhenge's spotter drones, radar arrays, and shoot down Yako Squadron. And if we still got weapons, destroy as many of those TCIs as you can. That's why they're sending us up at Night Stalkers, at night and in bad weather. We can see them, but they can't see us. It's the perfect storm. The Battle of Ironhenge. While approaching Ironhenge, Furry Squadron maintained subsonic speed at low altitude, using the Night Stalker's ion engines to avoid detection. Command then briefed them on the upcoming battle, while imposing radio silence. But then one of the spotter drones detected them, so Wolf used the laser point defenses to destroy the drone before it could transmit the targeting coordinates to Ironhenge. The Ironhenge was then immediately alerted to their presence and launched Yako Squadron to defend Ironhenge towards Natalia's location, while having a few other squads on standby. But because the Night Stalker's extreme stealth, combined with the general bad weather, Yako Squadron was unable to find them. Yako then activated the K-drive on his K-Cast-21 to find a Night Stalker tracking him while his radar could not detect the Night Stalker's radar emissions. Yako then radioed the Ironhenge commander. "We've got a big problem. We got Night Stalkers inbound. Set Ironhenge's targeting coordinates to my location, and target anything that isn't tagged as friendly." One of Ironhenge's massive 1,800-foot-long railguns then rotated to face Natalia's direction, and fired a pod of quick-maneuver air-to-air missiles. They then locked onto Natalia's Night Stalker at close range as she used the laser point defenses to destroy them all, before they could damage her aircraft. Yako then used the heat of the destroyed missiles to find Furry Squadron's exact location, with his thermal imaging. Finnegan then said, "Looks like they're on to us." Wolf then said, "I'll distract these aces. You three get to Ironhenge and destroy those radars and planes while they're still on the ground." Natalia, Finnegan, and Bill then broke off and began to target Ironhenge's critical systems. And before the rest of the Aces could take off from the runway, Bill strafed the line of TCI interceptors, destroying most of the Aces before they could take off. Meanwhile, Natalia used her laser point defense system to disable the SAMs and lasers, while using the Night Stalker's advanced countermeasures to completely jam Ironhenge's communications and radars while her sensors were still fully functional. Natalia then completely destroyed Ironhenge's radars and communications arrays, using only the Night Stalker's laser system and not wasting any ordnance. But Yako Squadron and Confederate Aces weren't far behind after they overwhelmed James Wolfe and forced him to eject. It also didn't help that most of the TCI interceptor pilots were already in the air, ready to join the battle and intercept suspected bombers and attack planes. Finnegan then ordered, "Bill, take out those interceptors before they target our bombers. Natalia and I will handle Yako Squadron." Bill then broke off to shoot down interceptors as Yako Squadron approached from all sides. Natalia then remembered that the young Aces relied on their Kitsune magic for lack of skill, and activated the Night Stalker's high-power magic suppression field. And although this stopped both Yako Squadron from using their K-drives and her Tanuki sense, she didn't need it with the Night Stalker's superiority and her skill. Natalia then seized her newfound advantage and used the Night Stalker's twin blasters to strip Glacia of her energy shields, then used the Gatling gun to rip Glacia's wings apart, not even considering her worthy to waste a missile on. Finnegan then did the same to Ferucion's plane as it spun out of control, with all the holes in its wings. But before Finnegan could shoot down Fennec, he hesitated, and in his hesitation, Yako fired a missile straight into one of Finnegan's two engines. He would have died if it weren't for the Night Stalker's energy shields. But before Yako could fire another missile, Natalia flew behind Yako, firing two heat seekers, the first destroying his energy shield and the second rendering his aircraft combat ineffective. That left only Fennec, who deserted the battlefield. And without Yako Squadron and all the TCI interceptors destroyed, the Celanese heavy bombers razed Ironhenge to the ground. Natalia, Finnegan, and Bill then returned to base, while search and rescue recovered James Wolfe in one piece. Night Fox. With Fennec as the only member of Yako Squadron left, there was nothing but the constant terror, knowing if the Night Stalkers were still after him. That was, until he picked up Glacia and Ferucion's distress beacons still active. And even though Yako's plane was in no condition to fight, he volunteered to keep watch in the skies while he ordered Fennec to make a vertical landing to find Ferucion and Glacia. And after finding them injured, Fennec treated their injuries and stopped Glacia and Ferucion in the weapons bay. Fennec then flew back to the Kitsune clan, drawing as little attention as possible. The medical professionals then rushed Glacia and Ferucion to receive medical attention, as Inari pronounced that their sentence was over. But seeing the damage done to Yako's plane, Inari asked him, "You mind telling me how this happened?" Yako then left his protogen visor blank as he answered, "Night Stalkers happened." "It's a good thing their sentence is over. So long as they don't disrespect me again, that is." "They won't, not while I'm with them." "Still, I wonder how an ordinary Night Stalker pilot could have bested even you." "The KCAS-21 was not meant to fight Night Stalkers. We're fortunate that it did not turn out worse." Inari's red fox ears then twitched, thinking about something. "But I'm more curious about who those Night Stalker pilots were. By any chance, do you know if one of them was a Tanuki of the 50 States program? Or were they just ordinary Celanese Imperial Aces?" Yako then froze for a moment, thinking about what Inari might say. "The one that rendered my aircraft combat ineffective was the same Tanuki with Finnegan. I did what I could, but the KCAS-21 could not lock onto her Night Stalker, and it lacked enough maneuverability to dogfight. This will prove to be a severe problem against TCI interceptors, which are just as maneuverable." Inari then crinkled her muzzle ever so subtly after hearing Yako speak. "You need to stop losing to Tanukis. But now we know which Tanuki we're talking about. I'm ordering you to take another mission to the Celanese Empire. You may take whoever you like to go with you, but regardless, you're going to teach that Tanuki a lesson in humiliation." Waning of the Confederacy. General Lee Sampson, after seeing the defeat at Ironhenge, kept repeating to himself, "Ringtail, ringtail, ringtail," contemplating the demoralization of his own forces. The once great symbol of Confederate dominance, Ironhenge, vanished in only a few hours. Now he knew exactly who was responsible for it. Sampson then had a squad of his last Night Stalkers on standby, ready for the next battle. But this was different. He was going to kill whoever humiliated the Confederacy in only a few hours. It seemed the image of Inari had the same idea. Inari then called him, saying, "I heard both of us have a common enemy. That Tanuki publicly humiliated my clan and your Confederacy, and I have just the person you need to kill that Tanuki." Sampson then answered, "So I've heard. Unlike my clan, which does not have the ability to fight Night Stalkers, I heard your Confederacy does. So, why don't we join our resources and kill our common enemy? You need an ace of aces, and he needs the tools to complete his mission. It is a win for both of us." "Then send him, and I'll put an end to that ringtail." Renunciation. After hearing order from Inari to kill Natalia, Yako packed his things and selected Fennec, Glacia, and Ferrucion to go with him. Yako then ordered them, "You're taking your documents and money with you. Inari doesn't want you coming back to the clan." Fennec then asked, "And why is that? Didn't we fulfill our sentence?" Yako then lied, "Remember, Inari doesn't forgive anyone. So, after this final mission, you're being banished from the clan." Fennec then looked at Yako in shock and disbelief before saying, "But if it's the will of the Okami Inari, then I guess we have no choice." Yako then silently thought after Fennec started packing his things, "I'm doing this for your sakes, even if you don't understand it yet. I don't care if Inari approves of this or not. I'm not letting you three die for something that's not your war. You're still kids with a future, and I won't let Inari take that from you." Fennec then asked, "But where will we go, if not back to the clan?" "Zulsura is your best bet. They'll take in almost anyone, and have a much better relationship with Kitsunes than those Americans. And like hell I would send you to the Tanuki clan." And I was starting to like Tanuki, Yako, but I guess it's the least bad of the bad options. Yako then thought, "And freeing you from the Kitsune clan might be the best thing I could have ever do for you. If Inari punished me for it, then so be it." Did you know this? Yako's irony. The irony of Yako being a supposed no-jitsune is that his motivations for disobeying Inari are not entirely selfish like the no-jitsune of Kitsune folklore. In Japanese Kitsune folklore, the no-jitsune have no interest in advancing in Kitsune society, because they do not have a desire to serve the gods and only care about serving themselves. To contrast this, Yako lost interest in advancing in Kitsune society, because he sees it, along with Inari, as corrupt, and not worth advancing or serving. Yako also cares about those he has authority over, further contrasting him from the traditional no-jitsune, which doesn't care about anyone but themselves. Symbolism of Inari's fur color. With Inari in this story having just ordinary red and cream-colored fur, symbolizes her as a common red fox. Hence her perceived high status is really a facade, and she's just an ordinary red fox, pretending to be more important and powerful than she really is.